Hello everybody, I've just finished filming this video. Obviously you've not seen it yet, but I just wanted to give you a quick reminder that on the last Monday of every month I go live with two other fabulous designers. They are Gemhawks Jewellery and Relax and Craft. We have something called the ICE Social. So we go live 7 p.m. UK time on the last Monday of the month. You can catch up on last month's live, which is on my channel now. It was a first time last time. It went really, really well. And what we want to do is help you with any of your jewellery making problems. So I will pop the link to the next one down below this video, but also I'll pop on the Facebook group, and you'll be able to join the Facebook group if you want to and ask us questions and such. The other thing I just wanted to mention is the relationship to this video. So during the first ICE social, we all demonstrated our different ways to use crimps and crimp tubes, crimp covers, crimp beads. And since then, I still haven't found, so if you watch the video, you'll know I'd lost my crimping pliers, and I use these ones, which I really don't like. I don't feel comfortable. And I thought, I'm just going to find another way, see what other ways. So this is why this video has come to light, because I used the magic crimpers. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of information, and if you wanted to go back and look at how to do different crimps, you can pop onto that video. I will link it down below. Right, let's get on with this tutorial. Hello, thank you so much for joining me. My name is Katie of Katie Parker Jewellery, and thank you for being with me. I am in the UK. It's a nice Sunday afternoon, having a lazy one. Just thought I would just do some really simple beading. And I had this idea, well, I got inspired by watching something on the TV last night, and this girl had this necklace on, and it was just all different beads. Hers was a little bit, I wasn't brave enough to go quite as random as she, but I found these gemstones, and they made this really beautiful sort of palette all together. Thank you so much for joining me and watching today, and I hope you enjoy this video. And if you do, don't forget to like, subscribe, and please leave me a comment. I do try to get back to as many comments as possible. So I've just done this. I've done the threading. I'll tell you what gemstones I've used. We have got these rondelles. These are rose quartz. We have got these gorgeous little blue aquamarines, and then we've got fluorites in the other little sections, and some multicolored quartz there. So there's quite a lot, but I thought the palette worked really well together, and maybe brave and do something a little bit more exciting with lots of different colors. But do let me know if you find it difficult to thread randomly and not try to make any sort of pattern, because I definitely do. So I made one, and then I thought I'm going to do this again and make one that's a little bit longer, so I can either wear one or two together. So I threaded up, and I had just about the same length. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the clasp on, but we're going to add some little sections just so I can adjust the length on the second one a little bit. And also I was going to do you a video this week about my new crimp pliers. So I've bought these magical crimp forming tool, the pliers tool. So these are by the Bead Smith, and I've literally got them this week, and I've just been having a little play. So they work a little bit differently from, well, a lot differently from any sort of crimping I've done before. So I'm going to go through how to use those and what I've used with them, like so. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to tidy up a little bit, and then we're going to go through everything we need to know about these, and then we're going to put our piece of jewellery together and see what they look like laid next to each other, because I think they're going to look absolutely stunning. Oh, the magical crimp forming tool. So here it is, and these are the things that you need to go with it. There is something called the magical crimp tubes. I couldn't find them, not that would come in the next sort of month or so. So I bought the Bead Smith, so it's the same brand, and really good quality tubes, so really good quality bead tubes. These are 2mm, and that is what this pair of pliers require, 2mm crimp tubes. They do need to be of very good quality, so they need a good thickness to them, and you can tell there they're a nice thick crimp bead. If you use the fine ones, they will just disintegrate and fall to bits. But I just want to show you, let me just get this out because there's a little sample in here. This is what happens when we use this one. So you get this little sample with it, to be quite honest. It forms obviously from a tube, and it forms a bead. Now that bead does not need a crimp cover. It doesn't need a calotte over it. It is just one thing on its own, and it flows beautifully. So if you take a look at this here, this is the crimp. I didn't have to put anything over it. I always tried to put a little bead just before, but I did that and it just flows with the design. So no more messing around with your crimp covers or closing your calotte. You can just use these crimp tubes and the pliers and it will work. The other thing you need to consider is, if we look on here, it tells you what beading thread to use. Now, the actual gauge of the beading thread is quite important. I did just try some sort of cheaper standard beading thread. Didn't work. They just slipped out. You do need the right gauge. Now, you'll have to excuse that the place that we get things that come from the very long river in South America put a great big sticker over here, so I apologise for that. But this is the 0.18, which is the middle one here. So I did find that getting the correct gauge of beading wire was the most successful. So, and again, I've used these all came in this little packet. Sorry about tearing the packet. There's only way I could get them out. So these are 2x2mm. So, and they are by the Bead Smith. They're very good quality crimp tubes. It does tell you how to use them on the back, but we're using them with the magical crimp forming tool. So let's move that out of the way. We don't need that anymore. So we're just going to get on and use them. So I'm using the silver ones. I've got them here. They are silver plated, not actual sterling silver. And I've already pre-threaded all my beads. So I can't find my little clippy thing. So let's just hope they don't fall off the other end. Okay, but if it does, it'll make it very entertaining. So my beading thread is this beading thread here. So it is the Beadalon 7 strand. It is 0.018 inches or 0.46mm. I'm sorry you can't see that properly, but it will be in the description below. I've pre-threaded everything, so we're going to go for it and start threading. Now I have left my beading thread quite long just because I knew that I'm going to have to play around with it a little bit just in case anything falls off. So I'm trying to keep everything on. In fact, I'm going to do this end because that end's a little bit longer. So we're going to take one of our silver crimp tubes and pop that on. That will just drop down. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to pick up one of our jump rings. You can actually do this before you pop on your crimp bead. But what we want to do is make sure that this is closed. So we're just going to take our pliers, hold one side nice and straight, and then this side we are just going to wiggle that in. We don't push it this way, we wiggle it just gently until they come together, and then once they are together you will get a nicely closed jump ring. So we don't want that thread to escape. You can always, if you have one, use a closed jump ring. That's no problem, and even better. The other jump ring that's good to use as an oval jump ring because the pressure is on either end and not near the actual cut of the jump ring. So we've got our jump ring on, we've got our crimp bead, as you can see, and we're just going to pass that through. That's just enough to hold, just need a little bit to hold on at the other side. And we want our beading thread to lay side by side, nice and parallel to each other, not crossed over inside. Then we're just going to pull back and just leave a nice loop at the end. Some people go really, really far and make like really tiny little loops, but then it tightens around your jump ring or anything else you're putting in there. And I think it's a lot nicer and your jewellery will sit a lot better if you've got that nice bit of flow and movement. Now we're going to grab our magic pliers. So as you can see there's this little kind of bead shaped hole, and that hole is at both sides, and that's what's going to form our bead shape. Now what we're going to do is we're going to crush it. I'll talk you through it first. We're going to crush it down and it will make a little square with a round in the middle. Then we're going to turn it 90 degrees, so turning your hand 90 degrees, crush it back down again, and then we're going to just work all the way around, just doing little nibbles, and that is going to form that lovely round bead. So let's do it. What you want to do is make sure that you get your bead in there, so it's actually in the right place. There should be no bead stuck out at either side. Again, before you do that first sort of bit of pressure, make sure that your beading thread is parallel to each other, and then you're just going to crush that down. Now under normal circumstances you would not take that out, but can you see it's sat in there? I am just going to show you it, because look, it goes down into like a little square with that sort of round in the middle. So you will have kept yours in that like so. I'm just going to open up the pliers and turn so that I get my 90 degrees. It is nowhere fixed yet, so don't be wiggling things around. So now I've got it 90 degrees to what it was, so I'm squeezing it the opposite way. Okay, and now we're just going to turn it a little bit at a time, making sure it stays in that beautiful little round, and we're just going to work our way around little bits at a time. When you're starting to feel like you're not crushing anything, you know, you're not getting any resistance, that is when your bead will probably be just about formed. But you can always go back in, just turn little tiny bits. So it's a slower process, I think, but no fiddly crimp covers. Which, I mean, that's got to be a blessing. And look at that. We've got a perfect little bead, and let's just give it the test. I'm putting my pliers into the beading thread. That's not going anywhere. That is super secure. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass my bead down. So make sure you can pass 2 pieces of your wire through there, and then we're going to cut that little tail off. So cut that little tail off, and now we can shuffle all of our beads up. So just going to take that a little bit shorter. Can you see that's just got a tiny bit there? If you wanted to, you can just pull that bead back. You can't do it at the other end, but just take that tiny little bit more off, and then that will go through really nicely. Come on, go inside. There we go. There we go. So we're going to go to the other end. So we're just going to shuffle all of our beads up to the other end. Okay, now one very important thing when you are making a bracelet, necklace or anything, it needs to have fluidity. It needs to be able to bend. If I have this straight and just push all these really, really tight, it's not going to, can you see how it's a bit kind of doesn't want to go? So what you need to do is sort of bend this as much as you can, just so that you're giving your beads a little bit of room to move. So what I tend to do is loosely coil that up a little bit. I know I've got a lot of beading thread here. We're not worrying about that at the moment. Again, what I'm going to do is pop on my crimp bead. That one. I chose to pop that one to one side. Let me find it again, just because I may as well show you. Can you see it's just got a little bit of metal just stuck out? Don't know whether you can see that. That is fully usable, but what I would do is I would just trim that little bit of metal off first, just because it may just cause you a problem, but it's no problem. It's still totally usable, but I haven't got time at the moment to trim off that or file it off. So this one I've already pre-closed, so I've got my jump ring on. So again, I've got my bead that I finished. I have got my jump ring and my tube on there. So bead, my crimp tube and my jump ring. I'm going to pick this up. Obviously we're not working on the end now, so we want this to be a necklace. And I'm going to go back through my crimp tube and through my bead. And this is where we're going to do a little bit of just making sure we're really happy before we commit to anything. Okay, so I know I've got my bend in here, which is good. Obviously we don't want this big gap here, so I'm going to pull down that bead and then I'm going to gently pull this down. I'm just making sure I am happy that nothing is crossed inside that tube. Just pull it down a little bit more. This is where you pull it and then it all goes. There we go. Just that tiny bit more. It does not matter if there's a millimetre or so gap here, because you're still going to need that movement in any case. So I'm just going to pull that down a little bit. So make sure you don't pull your jump ring, but pull that down a bit. There we go. Am I happy that my loops are the same size? Sorry, I went off camera a bit then. So are we happy that my loops are the same size? Yes, I think so. Maybe just a tiny little pull. Now this is the bit that I kind of, whoops, dropping everything, that I kind of worried a little bit about, I've got to say, about using these pliers. But it worked out absolutely fine, because I'm just like, oh, is it going to fit? But it does, it just fits perfectly, no problems at all. Just make sure you get your crimp tube in that perfect little space that's been made for it. It's the right size. Make sure you're using the right size crimp tube and everything is fine. Make sure you're happy that your threads are not crossed over. If you're unsure, just take it back and have a quick look. My crimp tube is in there. I am happy with that, and I'm just going to put my first squish in. Again, I'm going to open it up and turn it 90 degrees, squish again. Then I'm going to just do all those little movements just to bring it around, taking it one little step at a time until you will know when it's formed really nicely, when nothing is, you can't feel anything squishing anymore. Does that make sense? I think so. So we've got our little bead there. I feel like that might need just a tiny bit more on one side. Always make sure you're happy before you move on. You inevitably will forget to go back and check it. I'm just going to just a tiny little bit that there, got it. So I am now happy with that, and I can trim off this little piece of wire. There we go. And I'm now happy. Everything can move just nice and gently, and I've got a nice smooth round. So let's just bring that back out a little bit again. So obviously if I'd have done it tight, it'd be all kind of wiggly. This it will flow nice and smoothly, and that is what we want. So this time I'm going to add my clasp to one side, but I'm also going to add a little chain and a couple of little stations so that I can adjust the length of this. So what I need to do is actually just I can use this little bit of beading thread that I cut off. First of all, I want to thread, these are just some random pieces of chain, I've not measured them, so there will probably be different lengths, and I want them to be about 1 inch each, just so that I can adjust length. So what I've done is I've just popped them onto a little piece of wire, and then I can judge and cut them exactly the same length. So obviously they're going to be bending away from the camera, which is not great, but I'm going to hold them like this. So ideally you would cut them like this, but it's a little bit hard for you to see. So I am going to grab the one that I want to cut, which is there, and then bring it up. So this is how you make sure, without actually physically measuring or counting all the loops, you just need to make sure they're hanging in a nice even way, and then you can just chop them, basically. Chop them, get them all to the same length. So if you were doing something that had lots of chain pieces, you can use that method just to make sure that everything is the same length. So now we need to add everything. So to one side, obviously you can wear this necklace whichever way, so it doesn't really matter which side you add things to. So I'm going to add my clasp to this jump ring, so holding one side steady and then closing, and just making sure that you're happy that that is closed really nicely. Yeah, so that's one side. Now on this side we are going to add a piece of chain to start, so I'm going to open that one up. This is a nice sort of Rolo chain where it's got them nice round links to it, and then I can pop on, if I've left enough space for it to go through. Yep, pop on one bit of chain, one piece of chain. Make sure you're happy with that. And then I can pop a jump ring to go in between. So therefore I can pop on this piece of chain onto this one, and then onto this one too. So just onto the end, like so. So now at the moment I've got two lengths I can use. I can use this jump ring to fasten, this jump ring to fasten, but just in case I want it a little bit longer, I'm going to pop a jump ring on the end. Now if you knew you weren't going to use it any longer, it'd be nice to put a little bead charm on the end of it maybe. There we go. So that one's closed up. So now when I've got both of my necklaces here, let's just lay these out. So this one is fastened, but then this one I can wear either the same length or a different length, like so, because you've got to think about the way that you wear it and how much drape it's going to have, and it will sit differently around your neck as well. So you might want to have them very close together, which that way they would lay on that middle one, they would lay really close together, and then on this one they would just have that little bit of a drop between, and obviously on the shortest one it's going to be about the same length. So you can see the difference that you get there. So you've got a few different looks, and if you wanted to, you could just wear this one on its own, this one on its own. It doesn't really matter at all, but I'm really glad that I made two of these, because I think it's given me a lot of variety to play around with. I'm definitely going to make some earrings to go with these too. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you've enjoyed seeing how this crimp plier works. I think it's rather good. I'm going to continue using it, see how I feel about it, but for me I think it's a winner at the moment, definitely. If you've got any other suggestions of tools you'd like me to try, let me know. So I've got lots of tools around that I can just do little demonstrations on, but if there's something new that's come out, let me know and I will see what I can do about that. Thank you so much for watching. Just a little reminder, all the findings I've used today, apart from the crimp tubes, are from Relax and Craft. The link is down below in the subscription. Thank you so much if you've watched this far. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave me a comment, and I will see you all again very soon.